All right, we've just been listening into our partners there at Fox 11 in LA, giving us an update on this fire situation. Of course, just coming out of that news conference as well, where we heard from so many LA officials, including the governor of California, as well as he talked about all the resources that will now be pointed towards Southern California as they work to get things under control. So to add just a bit more context about what's going on in this area, I do want to bring into the program now Jesse Torres. He's there with CAL FIRE. Jesse, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now. I have to ask you, first of all, when you're watching some of these images, what are your first thoughts as you're seeing this fire start to spread? What is right in front of firefighters as they're out there trying to put these flames out?
It is a critical moment for Southern California and the community of Palisades. We're bringing resources in from CAL FIRE, from Northern California, aggressively down there. They're mobilizing now and heading down there. We already have resources in place. But I'm seeing the devastation. I'm seeing people evacuating. I'm seeing congestion on the roadway. We always remind people to evacuate sooner than later. Get out early and try to avoid that congestion, avoid that, with a little bit of chaos of getting people out. We want to, and our thoughts and our priorities is the people. We want to get them out as soon as possible and as safe as possible.
And as we're looking at some of these images, we've just been seeing homes go up in absolute flames. Can you sort of talk about the environment down there in Southern California, why they were talking about the wind speeds between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning? It's going to be a critical time, and they're talking about how that will potentially cause this fire to spread, which is already at over 1,200 acres at this point. Can you talk about those conditions and why things have just been primed over the last few hours to really see this fire spread?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to expect more fire spread tonight and through the night hours with the wind activity continuing. We're seeing spot fires all throughout the community of Palisades, igniting new little fires, burning into the main fire, which is a big concern for us. As the wind continues on and the smoke layer comes down, we want to get our aviation and resources in there. And hopefully we don't get restricted with all the smoke layers and causing any restriction with our aviation. But we want to get our resources in there, and we've seen all this fire and devastation. The fuel load is ready to burn. We haven't had any good precipitation in Southern California in months. So this fuel, this area is ready to burn, and with these winds, it'll just make it increase that much faster.
And as you can see there on your screen, of course, that's our partners there at Fox 11 in LA. Their reporters also using this shot. But I want to focus here on some of these cars that have been moved out of the roadway. Some of them are charged, some aren't. Can you talk about the need for emergency response folks to be able to get into these areas to ensure that they're able to go through those canyons? Because so many people are wondering. Of course, it was told to us that bulldozers had to actually come in to clear those lanes. Talk about the effects of that and why it's so important to clear that area so firefighters are able to get in there.
Yeah, I've been in areas like this before where you have really narrow roads and minimal roadways to get to the areas we need to and get to these houses and protect these structures as soon as possible. It's really important for our resources to get in place to these streets and these homes to protect these homes. And with everyone evacuating at the same time, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get in place. So it is needed. Sometimes we will have to use what we can, and the bulldozer was the need at this moment to open up that roadway and get our resources in place to protect the people and to protect the community and protect the homes as well.
Let's talk about personnel as well. As we've already discussed, so many different departments are now pitching in and offering whatever support is possible. Governor Gavin Newsom talked about the fact that over the weekend, they'd actually set up for other departments to come down starting Saturday and Sunday, and we're in place ready to mobilize if anything happened. Can you talk about the behind-the-scenes coordination that goes into a large operation like this?
Yeah, definitely. We use our mutual aid system with our OES partners who bring in our local government partners and mobilize them all across the state wherever the fire need is. So we mobilize all resources working with our OES partners, and it's just a large mutual aid system that allows our local government partners to come to these fires and get dispatched an initial attack phase or a planning strike team phase to get them over here and assist us. All these firefighters right now that are working this fire now, hopefully we can get them off the line by tomorrow morning for rest and recovery and bring in a new set of resources in by tomorrow morning. But in incidents like this, sometimes that doesn't happen because all the resources aren't there yet. We still have resources mobilizing towards this area from the Southern California and also Northern California. So sometimes these firefighters are working 48 hours straight on this fire line to do what they can to stop this fire until there's relief is in place.
Jesse, I was going to ask you that next. I was as a firefighter. Of course, you still have to eat. You still have to maybe find some semblance of sleep. But when you're out there and you're battling it, can you sort of walk us through what a day potentially looks like when a fire like this breaks out?
Yeah, it's a long day and a long night, and you don't realize the time that has passed. Your hunger pains, you don't even notice them. That you don't feel that hunger until things slow down when the fire slows down, and that might be 48 hours from now. A lot of these guys have been out there since 10:30 when this fire started, and they're not going to see the end of it till maybe Wednesday night when resources come in and give them relief. So it's a long night, it's a hard night, but you really keep going. That adrenaline keeps you pushing, and you don't notice it until things start to slow down. And but a lot of times, luckily, we'll have some of our logistics teams, bring in burritos or some type of lunch, snacks and food just to keep us going. And also, all of our fire engines are stocked with food just in case, and waters and Gatorades to keep us moving for at least 48 hours.
It's good to know that so many of these folks are being taken care of in the moment when it's so critical to keep the lives of so many Californians safe as well. All right, I want to ask you about the LA. They've now declared a state of emergency. When that occurs, how does that affect your resources? Obviously, the ability for you all to get more resources increases. Is that why it's so important?
Yes, it's very important, and more for the reimbursement part of reimbursing California when this is said and done. Our federal management assistant grant assists us with federal funds to help reimburse the recovery costs of everything that's been here in California. So mainly, it's not going to affect us with resources out the gate, but it could affect help us with resources out of state if we get to that point. But for now, we're still using a lot of in-state resources throughout the Southern California area, and a lot of CAL FIRE resources all throughout the state are coming in to assist on this fire. But these federal funds will help assist us with reimbursement costs in the end.
Certainly something that's going to be important in the coming days. Also, just showing you some more powerful images that we have there from our partners there at Fox 11 in LA. As you can see, this woman is walking with a suitcase, probably many of her belongings, just trying to get out of harm's way. They're going to be interviewing her. We're going to step away from this shot, and hopefully we'll be able to hear a little bit more about what's happening there as well. But before I let you go, Jesse, I have to ask you, of course, there has now been early reporting that Pacific Palisades High School may also be burning in this fire. In that case, when a structure like a high school burns, they're obviously going to have to take away some of those operations and classes, and all of that kind of affects the school year. How long does that potentially be affected? Have you seen any other fires where major structures like a high school or maybe even a hospital in the area have been burned or affected by these fires?
Yeah, definitely. I've been in the business for a long time and seen a lot of destructive fires like this in my career. And usually when hospitals catch fire or high schools catch fire, the community has to resource out to another high school. Like in particular in Chico, Northern California, they had to go down to Chico from that area up there where that high school burned, and utilize other hospitals in the area and get evacuations out. And that's the worst part of it, is evacuating the hospital. We never want to do that, but sometimes it's necessary. We need to get people out. So they'll use a lot of ambulances to transport people from this burning hospital to another one and get people out as soon as possible. But it's very destructive, and it's difficult to manage because that high school is affected, and then they can no longer have school there. So usually schools will shut down for a couple of weeks until they can figure out what they're going to do next, and maybe do some in-home schooling or online or something like that. But it is a horrible time to have high schools and hospitals catch fire as well.
It certainly is. And Jesse, as I'm going to let you go after this question, I have to ask you, do you see an end to this fire? Do you know potentially how long we may see it burn? And what are these conditions now making it prime for other fires in the vicinity to break out as well?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of our biggest concerns, is other new fires igniting and starting in Southern California. These winds are forecasted to go through Thursday, according to the National Weather Service, with the strongest effect being tonight through the night hours. So Our concern is new fires throughout Southern California and being prepared for that and have staffing and resources available for those. But yeah, this fire will burn until the wind stops or slows down through Thursday for sure. This fire is being pushed by the winds and is making spotting and creating this fire to move rapidly with the wind. So once the winds slow down or come to a stop, we'll see this fire activity slow down, and that'll allow us then the firefighters to get more suppression efforts in and more activity to stop this fire.
Jesse, any parting thoughts as before I let you go?
I just want to remind the public to be safe and be prepared, have an evacuation plan, and have a go bag ready to go. And for more information, visit us at fire.ca.gov.
We definitely appreciate you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox this afternoon/evening, giving us idea of just how much those firefighters are now dealing with as they try to make this area safe again for those residents. We appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you.